This is the Clear Money Talk podcast, offering up creative solutions for your retirement future through education, choice, transparency, and empathy. Now, your host, CEO and founder of Clear Financial Partners, Tim Claremont.
Hello. Welcome to Clear Money Talk. I am your host, CEO and founder of Clear Financial Partners, and I'm excited to educate you and infotain you today. We'll do the best we can. Here with my co-host, as always, Tyler Andrews.
Thank you for the introduction, Tim. It's good to be here, recording another podcast. It's always fun.
Yeah. It's a good time. Anyway, that's funny.
We're getting back in the motion here.
We're gonna have a good time together today. We're gonna do the best we can to answer this question for you, give you some good insights. This is a really fun question. I'm actually really excited to share this with you. There are a variety of different buckets that you can have your money invested in, but the Roth bucket is one of my personal favorites. One of my top two, I'd say, personal favorites as far as investment choices, and we're going to explore some of that today. But what is our official question today, Tyler?
How can I unlock the power of my Roth IRA?
How can I unlock the power of my Roth IRA? So think about that. If you have a Roth 401k, Roth IRA, any kind of Roth accounts, just as a quick refresher, basically it means you put in money, you've already paid taxes on what you put in. The earnings inside that account are growing tax deferred, and ultimately, if you take that money out after 59 and a half, it all comes out tax free. There's some rules. You want to double check a few rules as far as qualifying for that. You have to have the Roth IRA for a certain number of years and so on. But generally speaking, the basic way it works is you put in money after taxes and everything comes out later tax free. So a great analogy that I've heard over the years that I think is a great way to think about this is when you're trying to decide on, do I contribute to a Roth contribution or do I make a pre-tax contribution, is think of it like planting seeds of corn. Would you rather pay taxes on the seeds and then harvest the corn tax-free, or would you rather take a tax break on the seeds and then have to pay taxes on all the corn later when you harvest it? Myself, I'd rather pay taxes on the seeds and then harvest all that corn later on tax-free, and that's what a Roth IRA or Roth 401k allows you to do. If you were to contribute, for example, let's say you maxed out a Roth 401k at a little over $20,000 a year. Maybe you put in $20,000 a year into a Roth 401k, and you do that for a period of 20 years, maybe from 40 to 60, for example. That's going to be total contributions of about $400,000. And if you've invested it well, it's very possible that could be worth $1 million. So if you put in $400,000 and you paid taxes on those seeds, $400,000, and then you go to take that $1 million out after 59 and a half years old, that $600,000 of gain, you've never paid any taxes on it, and you never will as long as you take it out after 59 and a half under those Roth rules. So it's a very, very cool way. There's not a lot of other places where you can get a bunch of money that you never had to pay taxes on and never will pay taxes on out of any kind of an account. That's why Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks are so powerful. So excited to teach you some of the ways that we optimize Roth IRAs with investments with various clients and some of the strategies that we use for that. What works best for you is best discussed with your financial advisor, your tax professional, possibly your attorney as well, to make sure you have the right plan. But some of the ways that we do that, we'll go through those today.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we got the first base out of the way. What is a Roth IRA? How might it make sense for certain people depending on your circumstances and situations? So we got that. Check that box. I like that. So where do you want to go next with this, Tim? I think we can go down a lot of different avenues as far as how to unlock the power of my Roth IRA. And I like the word power that we put in the topic because Roth IRAs can be very powerful if used properly. So I'm happy that we put that in the topic.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth considering the investment strategy used inside of a Roth IRA.
Sure.
It's worth considering when do you turn on the distributions from a Roth IRA. And then ultimately, how does a Roth IRA play into our ultimate estate planning when it comes to leaving a Roth IRA possibly behind to your heirs? That might be a good 3-step approach for us to answer this question.
I agree.
Let's start with why don't we start with when to turn on a Roth IRA? Because I think that also informs us as to how best to possibly invest a Roth IRA. So let's get the turning it on first.
Okay.
Turning on a Roth IRA, one of the best things about a Roth IRA is that if you're trying to manage your tax bracket when you go into retirement, it can be very challenging. You might say, hey, I want a little extra money out. Well, if you go to take it out of a traditional pre-tax account, all of a sudden you've got to pay income taxes on that. That might pop you into another higher marginal income tax bracket. It could also affect the taxability of your Social Security benefits. And consequently, a small distribution from a pre-tax IRA account could have significant unexpected tax consequences. So having a Roth IRA bucket that you can pull from allows you to increase that flexibility for you to get the income that you need in retirement and ultimately have that come out and not have it mess up your tax return, which is a really key tool when you're doing a little bit of tax management planning in your retirement years. So just keeping that in mind as we think about when to turn it on. If you want to use it occasionally to fill in the gaps without creating tax problems, it's nice to have it in that way. But if you don't need that, let's say you already have enough income coming in from Social Security or pensions or regular distributions from pre-tax accounts, and you don't need the money from a Roth IRA, then it usually is better to postpone the distributions as long as possible. Because the longer you postpone the distributions, the larger the amount of money is that you're building up inside of there that will ultimately come out tax-free. However, there is a caveat to that. So let's say that your plan. Well, every asset you have is a live on or leave on asset. So either you're going to spend it or you're going to leave it behind to somebody else. And the way it works right now is if you were to pass away, thanks to I think it was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that made this change,
Yes.
you have to fully distribute the Roth IRAs to your beneficiaries within a period of 10 years after you pass. So that money's going to get distributed within 10 years of passing. Yeah, you might want to, again, just keep postponing it as long as possible. That's more tax-free money eventually that comes out. But at the same time, there's fewer years to take that money out over if you're waiting and then ultimately passing it on. So, strategize. There might be a few other ways to leave wealth behind. We've seen some clients decide, hey, let's just take money regularly out of this Roth IRA and fund possibly a life insurance policy. That might be a way to shrink your estate and pass assets on in a tax-free lump sum capacity. We've also said, hey, let's convert IRAs to Roth IRAs so we can leave larger amounts of Roth IRA money behind for our heirs, because it's better to have tax-free money go to them than taxable money. But ultimately, when to turn it on, I guess the answer is if you need it to manage your tax brackets in your 60s and 70s and 80s, then use it as needed to manage your tax brackets. If you don't need it to manage your tax brackets during that period of time, I would postpone distribution for as long as possible. That would be my gut check answer as far as Roth IRA. It's one of the best assets to leave behind. There's a lot of other stuff that's better to spend first. Any additional thoughts on that before we go to investments inside of it?
No, I don't think I do, actually.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm nerding out a little bit.
No,
today.
I'm enjoying it. Like we always do. Like I'm just taking it all in, just like the viewers are right now too, I imagine.
Sure.
So,
It's, when you're a tax nerd, as I have been for a long time, you start to really get excited about all these different tax aspects, and sometimes you forget that things that I take for granted, that I think about all the time and know all the time, is not something that you hear all the time. And I want to make sure that if you have any questions along the lines here, if something pops up and you're like, oh, that was interesting, but didn't really get the full answer, that's why you should call us. You should call us at the 503-579-1000, and you can always schedule a 15-minute get acquainted call, have a conversation with you, and see if we can answer that question for you a little bit better. Because there's a lot of stuff here, and there's only so much we can communicate to you in the podcast. But
that's right.
But the quick answer: postpone distribution as long as possible. Use it for tax management strategies in your retirement years. That's as far as distribution. Let's talk about investment.
Yeah.
As far as investment inside of the Roth IRA, a lot of times it's a good idea to consider well, not a lot of times. It's always a good idea to consider the time frame before you're going to touch the money, when you consider how the money is invested. If you're going to touch money in the next, let's say, 6 to 18 months, okay, you don't want to take a lot of risk with that kind of money. You're going to need it in the next 6 to 18 months, so you should keep it somewhere safe and somewhere liquid so you can get your hands on it, so that you're not going to have any penalties, you're not going to lose any of it. And that's oftentimes money markets, CDs, savings accounts, very, very low risk types of investment choices. When you're going to touch the money in more than 2 years or more than 5 years, you usually want to try to beat inflation. So you want to have a higher risk to get a higher potential return, and give a shot of preserving your purchasing power. And when you're doing that, when you think about a Roth IRA, if you're thinking that I'm not going to touch this for as long as possible, if I'm going to postpone distribution for 5 years, 10 years, maybe 15 or 20 years, maybe until you pass away, that's going to likely inform you that you should probably consider investing more aggressively inside of the Roth IRA. Now, aggressively doesn't mean foolishly, okay? Let's be clear about that. It doesn't mean that you throw everything into one company and roll the dice and see what happens. Okay, that's speculative. There's a difference between aggressive, diversified investing and speculative investing. And when I say invest aggressively, what I'm saying is consider maybe a little bit higher percentage of stocks over bonds than you normally might. Consider balancing your overall risk amongst a variety of positions that you have in your overall portfolio. You might want to think about saying, well, maybe I'll hold the stocks and the more aggressive positions in the Roth IRA that I'm not likely to touch for a while, and I might hold a little more bonds in something else like a pre-tax retirement account, so that if you balance between the two, it's matching your risk tolerance, but that doesn't mean that both accounts should be identical. In fact, if you have a pre-tax retirement account like an IRA, and you also have a Roth IRA, and your financial advisor has simply said, oh, let's just put both of these in 60-40 portfolios, or both of these in 80-20 portfolios, it's very possible that they're not giving any consideration to the tax treatment and the timing treatment associated with those accounts. Many of our clients with Roth IRAs might have an 80-20 or 100% stock allocation, and then in their pre-tax retirement accounts have more of a 60-40 or 80-20 allocation, because having more bonds sometimes in your pre-tax accounts can make more sense if your time frame to touching it is different. And that's a good thing to give some consideration to. Though that doesn't mean, again, going crazy, aggressive, speculative inside your Roth IRA. It's important money. We don't want to lose it.
Correct.
It's one of your best assets that's there. So,
yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, I mean, you've hinted on that Roth is one of the best assets that we have, and Tim, in presentations with clients, will often use the Clear Peak Clock presentation, which is a whiteboard-oriented presentation that we'll use with clients, especially when we're first meeting with them. And it paints a simplistic picture of the assets that you want to touch first, second, third, fourth, and so on. And the last assets in that category are the best assets to potentially leave behind, which can be Roth IRAs, can be real estate, life insurance. And the reason for that, which you guys might be saying, why is Tim saying that Roth is one of the best assets to leave behind potentially? The tax nature of it is the biggest issue. You're able to control the taxes. You're able to give an asset tax-free, essentially, if structured and done properly, to whoever it is that money will eventually go to. And that's why it's one of the best assets to leave behind and use last. And whether that's going to somebody else or whether it's you using it, it can also be one of the best ways for touching that in that certain sequence that we're talking about now. So that's kind of puts a little bit more color to why Tim's saying it's one of the best assets to leave behind or to use last.
Yeah, and I think that's a good general rule of thumb, but please understand there's always exceptions to the rule.
Yes.
And it may be very possible that you are that exception to the rule. And I can give you a couple examples of exceptions to the rule as far as postponing distributions from Roth IRAs, particularly if it comes to Roth conversions. So if you're considering doing a Roth IRA conversion, converting a pre-tax account, IRA account to a Roth IRA and paying taxes on it, and then you get that Roth IRA account, which you might be so excited about, because there's a cost associated with the conversion, because you got to pay taxes on that, you have to give further consideration to what is the tax consequence for you to do a conversion versus your heirs. If you're going to leave the Roth IRA behind, your heirs might be in a state or might be in an income situation where their tax bracket's lower than yours. And if that's the case, for example, let's give you this example. Let's say that you are making $150,000, $200,000 a year in retirement, and you live in the state of Oregon or California, where you have a 9 to 10% state income tax. And in addition to that, you have your federal tax bracket, which is probably running you 22 to 24% in that scenario. If you're higher than that, it could be even worse. So let's say you're 22% plus not 10 roughly, so 32%. If your kids make $50,000 to $70,000 a year, they might be in a 12% tax bracket. And if they're in a state like Washington or Nevada, there may be no state income tax. So rather than you converting your IRA money into Roth IRAs because you just heard this podcast or saw this on YouTube and said, oh, I want to have more Roth IRA, Tim said that's cool. And then you're paying 32% taxes on that conversion, and then your heirs are ultimately maybe only paying 12% if you hadn't converted it. That would be an exception to the rule. It's probably better for you to consider passing on those pre-tax dollars and letting the heirs pay the income taxes on that. But then, again, you got to figure in state taxes. One other thing to consider is charitable inclinations. If you're going to leave money behind to a charity, one of the best assets you can leave to a charity is a pre-tax retirement account, like an IRA or 401k where you haven't paid the taxes, because the charity can receive all of that tax-free. So they can get that money tax-free. You didn't have to pay taxes on it. Certainly no need for you to pay taxes and do a Roth conversion. You do not want to leave Roth IRAs to charities unless you just want to leave everything to charities. That's fine. But again, one of the last assets to probably leave to a charity would be a Roth IRA. One of the first assets to leave to a human being, a family member, friend, loved one, is the Roth IRA. So it's great for that purpose. But who you leave money to and where they're positioned tax-wise can drastically affect the right decisions for you during your tax strategizing as you go into your retirement years in that way. Now, that being said, we've talked about taxes too many times. I got to give it a caveat. We're not accountants. We're not giving you tax advice. We're not attorneys. I can't give you tax advice. You need to have a very personalized approach to your tax situation, and you should look at it every single year as you consider how to maximize it, because those tax laws change constantly. So that's a good quick little caveat to the postponing the Roth IRA distributions. But in general, most people postpone that Roth distribution as long as you can. More money you build up there, more money comes out tax-free down the road.
Yeah. That's great.
Nerding out.
No, you don't got to apologize. It's good. I'm just, I'm thinking in my head, also for the younger generation, I feel like a lot of what we're talking about right now is maybe tailored to people closer to retirement, already in retirement, have this money accumulated and built up, and they're like, okay, what's the best way to optimize it? Pre-tax, Roth. Do I use it? Do I live on it? Do I leave it on to my heirs? Do I donate it? What it is? What about the younger generation where they're like, Tim, Tyler, I've been in my career, I'm saving, I feel like I'm doing things right, but I'm saving all pre-tax. Like, is that going to be right for me? What if tax law changes between now and 40 years when I plan to retire, and all of a sudden taxes are double, like we don't know what's going to happen with tax law. We're not the ones in charge of moving those levers up or down. That's up to other people. Obviously we can vote through voting and all the other stuff on what might happen, but ultimately we don't know where taxes are going to go. So in those situations, when we meet with clients, what do you see that we're typically giving them guidance on?
That's a great question. So I feel like there's two different things there that I want to extrapolate from. So one is younger people when it deals with Roth contributions and how to make the most out of Roth IRAs and unlock the power of the Roth. And then the other is really related to how does your anticipation about future tax law affect your thoughts as it relates to Roth contributions and Roth conversions. I could see those as sort of two different questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer the second one first, so I can address that first. And when you think about your current tax rate, take a look at your current tax rate. Take a look at where your income is, and think about where you think your income is going to be in the future. Now, if you think your income is going to be similar or higher in the future, and you believe tax rates are going to stay the same or get worse, then that's that much more of a reason to contribute to a Roth IRA, if that checks the boxes for you, because pay the taxes now, pay it on the seeds, and then later on when you harvest the corn in the presumably higher income level and with those higher tax brackets, you won't pay any taxes. That's brilliant. Now, on the other hand, if you're in a very, very high income situation now and you anticipate maybe retiring or having a change in your income for the worse, your income's going to drop significantly in the near future, then you might want to go ahead and say, I'm going to take a tax deduction on those seeds right now because your tax bracket is so high that you want to save the tax dollars now. And then you can go ahead and pay taxes on the corn later, because when the corn comes out, your overall tax bracket might be low enough that you might end up with less overall tax cost. The name of the game is pay the least amount of money legally to the IRS as we can. And again, legally, a key word in there. That's the difference between tax avoidance, which is legal, and tax evasion, which is not. So you have to pay your taxes, but legally you can structure your positions to try to minimize your taxes wherever possible, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insights into how to handle that when it comes to future tax law. Ask yourself that question. If you don't have an answer and you haven't asked yourself that question yet, ask yourself the question and answer it for yourself. Yeah. Do you believe tax rates are going to stay the same, go down, or go up in the future? In other words, are you going to pay more taxes later, less taxes later, or are they going to stay the same? I can't tell you. I can't predict the future, right? I don't know what's going to happen. It's possible tax rates could go down. It's possible they can go up. It's possible they'll stay the same. But I will say, if Congress does nothing, taxes are going up in 2026, because the current Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to sunset at the end of 2025. And when it sunsets, the former tax brackets, the former tax structure was more expensive. They had lower bracket thresholds, so you ended up paying higher percentages. They had higher percentages, higher brackets. Overall, net effect is you will pay more taxes in 2026 if Congress does nothing. And if Congress does something, my personal answer to that question is I don't think taxes are going to stay the same. I don't think taxes are going to go down. I think they will go up in the future. And that makes Roths even more exciting for me because that means I'll pay the taxes on the seeds now and have that corn harvested later when those tax rates are higher and not have to pay those taxes. So anyway, that's where I would go with that answer as far as the future tax rates, noodle on that. But as far as how young people take advantage of this, I think the Roth IRA, the best way to take advantage of the Roth IRA is get money on the Roth IRA. I mean, that's it.
There it is. I was waiting for us to say it.
Answer.
Like, how do I unlock the power of the Roth IRA? Contribute to a Roth IRA.
That's right. That's right. Max out a Roth IRA. Do it every single year. Put money into the Roth IRA. Put money into the Roth 401k. The more money you put in and the earlier you do it, the more wealth you build in that Roth bucket, and the more money will then be available to you later to do all those cool things. So you absolutely need to make contributions like that. One of the great things to keep in mind for young people, particularly to address your question, Tyler, there is when let's say you're 21, 22, you're just getting out of school and you have your first job and you're wondering, where can I invest some money above and beyond my normal savings accounts or checking accounts or things like that? And a Roth IRA is an excellent option for you. And here's why. You might think, I don't want to put it in a Roth IRA because I don't want to tie it up till I'm 59 and a half years old. That's the way Roth IRAs work. You put the money in. If you take it out before 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty tax plus ordinary income taxes on your earnings in that account. But the key fact that you want to give consideration to on that Roth IRA is the one word that I just put in that disclaimer, which is earnings. Only your earnings are subject to that 10% penalty tax. Let's say you put in $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA account at 22 years old. Let's say you do that from 22 to 30. So 22 to 30, you do that for roughly 8 years. That's $56,000 that you've put in. $7,000 a year times 8 years, $56,000. Maybe it's worth $100,000 or something like that. If we get some growth, obviously rate of return is not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't necessarily indicate future results, all that stuff. But let's say that your contribution of $56,000 was put in. You can access that $56,000 anytime you want, with no taxes and no penalty taxes. You're just taking your seeds out of the Roth IRA. You already paid taxes on them, and you're allowed to dip into those accounts and take that money out. It's only your earnings that you're tying up until 59 and a half. There's even a way to access some of those earnings for the purchase of your first house. You will pay taxes on it if you do, but not a penalty tax. So there's a couple options. And if you use the money for college, for your kid's college or something, and you're not 59 and a half, you can access the earnings out of a Roth IRA if you want to there and just pay ordinary income taxes on those earnings, not the 10% penalty tax. Again, it will likely be better for you to look at other resources for those expenses, like the down payment on the house or the kid's college, just because you're going to want to try to postpone touching the Roth IRA as long as possible. But fundamentally, it is accessible to you. So there's really no reason not to put the money into the Roth account, and knowing that you can access your principal back at least tax-free at any time.
Yeah. Happy you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we feel like we've nerded out on this for a while. We're bringing it to a close.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably at just the answer time.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. How do we do that?
You got to cut it down.
That's right. Got to cut it down. Got to cut it down. Here's the answer.
Here we go. I'll tee you up.
Okay.
Topic is, how can I unlock the power of my Roth IRA?
Got it.
Go.
Okay. So number one, I would say is actually one of the last things we said in the longer version of this, which is contribute. Get money in the Roth IRA. The more money you have in it, the more you can leverage that power later. Two is take distributions only as needed. Postpone your distributions as long as possible in general. The longer you leave the money in the account, the more money comes out tax-free later on. And maybe consider using that bucket to help you manage your taxes in your retirement years, in your 60s and 70s, so that you don't end up with some surprise tax consequences. Having that bucket there can help you with that. And then third, keep in mind that the last assets to leave, one of the best assets to leave behind is a Roth IRA account. So give consideration to your tax bracket, your heirs tax bracket, your estate tax consequences as you noodle through this. But fundamentally, in kind of basic capacity, if you leave the tax-free money to your heirs, to individuals, they don't have to pay income taxes on it. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So optimizing it, make it as big as possible by contributing a bunch of money. Make sure that you use it, probably as late as possible. Postpone your distributions as long as you can. And then it's one of the better assets to leave behind. I think second best asset to leave behind is a Roth IRA. The best asset, in my opinion, is life insurance.
Yeah.
Anything else we like? There's a lot.
No,
in the long version.
investing inside of it.
Oh yeah, investing inside of it. Quick on just the answer on that. Keep in mind you can allocate your investment structure differently in a variety of your accounts because you're not likely to touch the account for a very long period of time. If you're going to postpone distribution, you should seriously consider leaning towards investments that have a chance to beat inflation, which means typically more aggressive, appropriately diversified investments. So you might want to have a more aggressive approach to your investment strategy in a Roth IRA than you might have, for example, in other accounts.
Yep. I think that hit on everything that we talked about.
Cool. Awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's time to move into
trivia.
We got to wrap it
little
up.
trivia.
So what do you got for me today, Tyler?
It's always the nice close. You need something to bring things to a nice closer. So that's trivia for us. Okay. What type of cloud is fluffy and looks like cotton candy in the sky?
Ooh. So this takes me back to like 4th, 5th grade stuff. I feel like there was like this moment when they talked about that.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you some options?
Nope. I think the name comes to me. I am not 100% sure of this, but I'm going to throw it out because I'm pretty sure of it. Is it a cumulus cloud?
It is a cumulus cloud.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Wow. All the way back to 4th, 5th grade, huh?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Cumulus. I don't remember any of the other names of clouds, but cumulus.
Stratus.
There we
Nimbus.
go. The stratus, Nimbus. Good. See,
Cirrus.
Yes. I would not have come up with any of those. But cumulus, I seem to remember that nice big fluffy one. So for some reason,
that like Toy Story kind of looking cloud in the sky.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, there you go. So
Boom.
one for one today. So
nice.
I'll take it.
That's good.
Any other final words of wisdom as we bring this to a close for everybody?
No, but just give us a call if you want.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we do. We do this because we do want to teach you things, and that is important to us.
But we want to meet you. We want to help more people. It's why we show up every day. It's why we continue to educate ourselves and to better ourselves on all this stuff because we want to help you guys with what you got going on. So
that's right. Yeah, I've been doing this since 1997 when I was 21 years old. So. Long time. And if I can, use what I've learned to put my brain on your situation to make your situation better, I would love to do that. That's what we do. So give us a call, 503-579-1000, and book a 15-minute Get Acquainted conversation. No expense, no obligation for that. Look forward to chatting with you hopefully very soon.
Thanks for tuning in.
Investment advisory services are offered through Clear FP Advisors, LLC, or Registered Investment Advisor. Securities are offered through Clear FP Securities, LLC, member of FINRA IPC. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments may fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Timothy Claremont is licensed in your state, please contact his office. Clear FP Advisors, Clear FP Securities, and Clear FP Life LLC are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide tax and/or legal advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Clear FP, LLC NPN number 194283777 and or Clear FP Securities NPN number 197499604. Any discussion of general investing strategies or specific securities are for conversational purposes only and should not be taken as a guaranteed endorsement or recommendation.